Hello and welcome to the Polyglot George channel. This is where those of us that are learning multiple languages get together and we talk about some of the things that we are struggling with. This particular podcast will be a little bit more than that because not only am I a polyglot learning multiple languages, I am also a book writer, a manager of a website, manager of a business. I have a few businesses that I run. And I want to talk today about some of the things, some of the reasons why you fail to be motivated. Motivation is a big key factor when you're doing language learning, and also the same thing with anything that you do. So let's talk about these reasons. Today I came up with a particularly good one that I'd like to come back to at the very end of the 5 reasons. The first thing that I notice that a lot of people do, and I still tend to do it, is you sell your abilities short. You say, for example, I'm not good with languages, or, oh, I'm just not good with verbs, or, oh, I hate the way this is conjugated, I can never ever use it right. That's really the wrong attitude, and that really sets you up for failure, because we are what we believe. And that seems a little bit hokey, but it's 100% true. And a recent example that I brought up on another podcast was how now that I'm calling myself Polyglot George, my entire opinion of myself has changed. And it's a weird thing because there's nothing different about me. The only difference is now I'm calling myself something different. I'm no longer 1 language George or 2 language George. I'm working on my 3rd and my 4th language. So I figured it was time to change my name to Polyglot. It's a simple change, but now the way that I think about myself is a lot higher. And I have a lot more, not that I was, let's just face it, I've always had a lot of confidence. But I have a lack of confidence compared to how I feel now for Chinese or for Spanish or for other languages that I'm weak in. Because now that I'm Polyglot George, in my mind I've set this expectation that, well, I'm a polyglot and I understand that in the beginning languages are hard. So I know that if I work at it over time, I'm going to get to it. I've got other successes underneath my belt. Hell, my name is Polyglot George. I've given myself that name, so it must mean something. Whereas when I first started learning Korean, I was just Japanese George. And I really didn't know Korean, so I felt not as confident. But now, even though my Korean is still not the greatest, it's really a lot better than it was before, I have this attitude now that I feel like, yes, I speak Korean. And that changes everything. And when I say what I'm doing with Chinese, I don't say I'm bad with the tones. I don't understand the tones are difficult. I say, yeah, I'm still learning the tones. I don't sell my ability short. I know that if there's a piece of dust in my eye, that's gonna help. I know that over time, I'm going to kill these things that are in Chinese that are hurting me now. I know that they're gonna be dealt with, okay? So stop selling yourself short. Stop saying anything negative about yourself. This is a key problem that a lot of people have, all right? Here's another one, and I think it's extremely important in the beginning stages. Okay, my screen is showing something different, but this is what it's supposed to say. All of your friends and family are fat. All of your friends, or family I should say, are fat. And what does that mean? Well, there are studies that show that if you have a lot of fat friends, you tend to be heavier because that is acceptable. And the true reality is that there are not as many successful people as there are people that are not successful. And I guess the word successful is subjective to that person's existence or reality, but what I consider successful is somebody who has control of their life and has goals that they're achieving. And a lot of people eat in the morning, go to work in the day, come home and eat again, go to bed, wake up and repeat for every day of their life. And I don't consider that successful. If you're doing that and you're not doing something outside of your work hours, or if you don't have your own company, if you're not working towards this goal, you're, in my mind, unsuccessful. And that kind of person is not someone that I want to be with. I frankly have friends that I no longer see anymore, not because I'm an ass, because I'm not able to get anything out of them as a human being. I'm not able to help them because they don't have a goal, and they're not able to help me because they don't have anything that I need. And that's a shitty thing to say. And you can post all you want, but it's the truth. I'm not gonna be your friend if you're not at least on my par of a human being. It's not worth my time. I don't need a bunch of fat friends when my goal is to be thin, because those people aren't gonna be supportive of my goal. You have these friends that'll say, why are you learning XXX? And even when I started, for example, my company, people would say, who's going to learn Japanese? Because that was the first company that I really was successful in. And people didn't understand. Why would you teach Japanese on the internet? This is back in 1998. Who wants to learn Japanese? Well, I didn't listen to those people, even though I was brought down by those people. I didn't listen to them. So don't listen to your fat friends. Your fat friends do not know what they are doing. And fat is a metaphor for not actually being fat. Fat is a metaphor for people who don't have it together. And unfortunately, a lot of times this is your parents. These people are your parents that work that 9-to-5 job and don't understand what it means to grab a skill like a language. And this is a much more broader topic, but a lot of times you'll start a business and the only person that will believe it in the beginning is you. And all of your friends who care about you will tell you don't do it. Why would you take that risk? You take that risk because if it pays off much bigger than that 9-to-5 job that you're paying. And I promise you one thing, if you have one skill, it's not that good. It's not really worth a lot. But if you combine that with 2 or 3 or 4 more skills, you're golden. And one of those skills can be a language because it's such a rare commodity to have someone to speak multiple languages. If you can pull it off, you become that much more successful. And even if you don't completely get fluent in that language, just knowing more than the average person will, I know people that have gotten better jobs because they spoke Japanese, even though I knew for a fact their Japanese wasn't that good, but they were still better than 99% of the people. So don't listen to your fat friends. All right, this is another one too. You want to sweat before you work out. Think about that metaphor, okay? Because this is what people do. I have heard people say this line, I'm not going to go to Korea until I speak a little bit more Korean. I'm not going to go to Japan until I master Japanese. No, it's not how it works. You don't sweat first and then go to the gym and work out. You begin working out and then that sweat comes to you. You don't not go to the country. If you can go to the country and you have the means to go to the country, go. Because that's going to totally increase what you do. It's going to give you motivation beyond anything you can do in the United States. Because when you're in Japan or you're in Korea, you are using it every day. You're forced to use the language and you will be motivated just because you want to be able to speak. And it sends an important message to your brain that, hey, this language is necessary, and your brain will make necessary modifications to remember things in a better way. Okay? So don't try to sweat first. Just start. And it's the same thing for everything. Speak the language even when you can't speak it. Speak as much as you can. Don't wait to speak until you can speak or you'll never be able to speak. This goes along the same lines as number 4, which is you're a perfectionist. If you're a perfectionist, you're never gonna ever speak the language. You need to make mistake after mistake after mistake. There was a guy just now in the esjapan.com chat room. I think his name started with LED, L-E-D. And he said something I thought was very funny. He said he was saying that Japanese is purple. That makes no sense, right? Oh, Japanese is so purple. That's because the word for purple is murasaki, and the word for difficult in Japanese is muzukashi. 4 syllables, yeah? Muzukashi. That E at the end is also a 5th syllable, but in English it's 4 syllables only. And murasaki has a similar ring to it. He screwed up. But guess what he did when he made that mistake? He totally learned purple and difficult perfectly. He'll never mess it up. It's totally important to make these mistakes because that's exactly how you learn. So don't be a perfectionist. It's a waste of your energy and you'll never get your goal. You'll never be perfect anyway. I make mistakes all the time and I'm an interpreter and I do a lot of work. I've done a lot of work. I don't do it anymore because I'm retired now from interpreting. But when I interpreted, I made mistakes all the time, but I still got paid the big bucks. My books, my Japanese books and my Korean books still have errors. And every time I release a new edition, we correct them. But even the Japanese from Zero book, which is totally sold, close to 50,000 copies, just one book, it has mistakes. And every time I release a new version, I correct the mistakes. But if I had waited for that book to be perfect, I would have no money for the last 15 years. Think about that. My entire fortune is based on these books now. I make no other money any other way. Books and a website. And you could talk to anyone who's used the book in depth. There are errors. There are typos. Are they big typos? Sometimes. Are they corrected in the next edition? Most of the time. But it can't be helped. It cannot be helped. Humans are imperfect. So stop trying to be a perfectionist. And I'm not trying to brag that I'm selling a book with errors. I'm trying to tell you that even with all of the people that have reviewed our books, even with me, my wife, my children, the staff here, the teachers, professors, they miss the errors too. And it doesn't change the fact that that book does very well. All right. This is the one that I realized today about myself. You're overstimulated. You are overstimulated. I have had times in the past where I have blocked websites that I typically go to for fun. And those were the most productive times. Reddit.com is a complete time sink for me personally. StarCraft, the game StarCraft, was a complete and utter waste of time for me. And recently, thank God going to Korea fixed this problem, but I was playing Agario all the time. It's so fun for me. So things don't get done. I've got a lot of things that I'm trying to do, and I'm overstimulated, not just with games, but with TV. I've got Netflix, Hulu. We've all got some way to stream things on the internet, on your phone, on your iPad. You always have entertainment. It's not like before where you had to wait for like a 10 o'clock time slot for something to come on. It's always available. And you can binge and binge and binge and binge, and that's my personality. So from today, I've decided that until, I'm getting ready to make a big promise to everybody. For the people that are learning on Japanese from zero, the number one question that I get is, when is Japanese from zero book 5 going to be done? I'm going to make a promise. Until Japanese from zero book 5 is done, I won't watch TV. I will not. I will still listen to radio because that doesn't distract me. I can ignore that. TV I can not ignore. So I am done distracting myself. And that's my promise to myself, that I'm not going to do that because I know I'm overstimulated. It's fun. Whereas working on the book is boring. Working on a language can be boring. It's only fun when you're talking to people, right? All right. So those are some of the things. I would like to hear what else has prevented you from being a failure, and not a failure, I'm sorry, failure to motivate yourself, and lack of money, working too many hours, being hungry because you don't have food. Those are all valid reasons, but let's talk about the things that you can easily change and that you can make an effect on. All right. All right. If you would like to learn some language, these are books that I've written, all with their errors and everything. They're still great books. So please check them out. I'll see you all in the next Polyglot George. I'm not sure what's happening with my screen in the back, which is showing like an overlay of the books on top of this logo, but it's not perfect, is it? And even what I just said is not perfect. Should I reshoot this and not release this video? No. I'm going to release this video with my errors intact. And if you find my errors, post them down below and I'll learn better for the next time. See you all in the next Polyglot George. Bye.